Hi everybody, welcome to the video today and welcome to the signal box. Very warm welcome to you all out there watching, and if it's your first time, don't forget to hit the good old like and subscribe buttons and we'll crack on with today's video. So as mentioned a few weeks ago, literally at the beginning of the new year, 2025 sees a very important historical year in terms of railways in Great Britain. It's Railways 200 in Great Britain, and which celebrates the centenary of the first ever passenger carrying railway in 1825, and it being 2025 this year, it's 200 years since the first passenger carrying railways transformed and revolutionised transportation of goods and people from one point to another in Great Britain. So this video really does highlight and showcase a very special train, and I've been after this for a long time, and I saw it recently on eBay and I thought, oh, shall I take a gamble and get it? And I've been eyeing it up for a couple of weeks. I thought, you know what, why not? So it arrived today in a box. This came this morning from AC Models in Hampshire, which is basically in Eastleigh, where the shop is. AC Models, I've ordered from AC Models before. They're a pretty decent shop and they're based in Eastleigh. I haven't physically been down there, but I used to go to Eastleigh many moons ago on a regular basis when I did my railway training down there. But yeah, this is something special in this box. So as I always say, go and get yourself a beverage of your choice and sit back and enjoy this one, and we'll get this out the box and we'll see what's inside, shall we? So see you in a mo. Okay, so we got this open now, so let's just see what's in here. First time I'm actually opening this, so not so much nervous, but just hoping everything's okay, because obviously it's very well packaged from the model shop, so we shouldn't have a problem. But let's just have a look what is in here. What do we have inside? What do we have inside? There's something in here. I wonder what's in here. Now, before I get this out of the box, the advertiser or seller, in this case being AC Models of Hampshire in Eastleigh, did say the item was brand new. So it's not a used item. This is actually brand new. So let's have a look. So we don't need that anymore. We'll just put that to one side and we'll see what we have before us. Ta-da! Oh, look at that. This is the 15 Guinea special from Hornby. It's a reasonably old train pack. It's not a brand new thing. It's been out, a year or a couple of years or so. It's not mega old, but it's not this year or last year, I believe. But anyway, this is a brand new item, and as we can see, looking on the camera and also me at home unboxing it, everything seems to be in good order. The box is very nice and crisp. Yeah. It's a limited edition, so there's only I think 1,000 pieces made of this. Yeah, limited edition, 15 Guinea special train pack. Features BR standards, class 7 Britannia class Oliver Cromwell. That's the reason I actually got this set, because it's got 7013, my top loco. As you'll see from the title shot of my video, that's me standing next to Oliver Cromwell on the last official open day at Old Oak Common, Western Region shed. Before they demolished it all, there was a big open day and Oliver Cromwell was there. I stood next to it, I went up on the footplate, I blew the whistle, and it was a great day. And Oliver Cromwell at the moment is in preservation. It's currently being restored. It's got quite a few things wrong with it, so they're hoping to get it back to mainline service. But Hornby released this set to commemorate the 15 Guinea special. So what is the 15 Guinea special, may you ask? Well, on the 11th of August 1968, this was the last ever journey by a steam locomotive on standard gauge British Railways track, and it was the last ever working of a steam service. And on the 11th of August 1968, British Railways came up with this thing called the 15 Guinea special, as it was 15 guineas a ticket, which I think in new money today, don't quote me, is roughly near about 250 English pounds a ticket. So Not much difference really today if you want to go on the Cathedrals Express and have the fine dining experience, really, I think, or any major steam heritage rail tour. Anyway, the head code for this original service was 1 Tango 57. That was the train describer head code for the service, and it did 5 operational steam locomotives on that particular run. There was 5 locos chosen for that particular event, and one of them being 7013 Oliver Cromwell. So we're going to get this out of the box in a minute, and we're going to have a look. And as you can see from the beautiful artwork on the front of the box here, it comes with some lovely coaches, and it's got 2 in that 1967 onwards BR blue and grey colour, which is nice, and a standard crimson BR coach as well. So it looks a nice set. You get 3 coaches with it plus the loco, and I've got some of these coaches as well, so we could make an extra long train. But anyway, enough waffle, and let's get it out the box. So the cover notes say the 15 Guinea Special was the last mainline passenger train to be hauled by a steam locomotive under its own traction under British Railways on August 11th 1968, and the preparations for 1T57 or 1 Tango 57 was considerable. For the tour, 5 operational steam locomotives had to be retained on the books until after it was completed, and their footplate crews rostered to work with steam for one last time. Behind the scenes, special commemorative tickets and brochures were printed, and special British Rails runs out of steam posters distributed for railway stations. 1T57 covered a stunning 314 miles during its 10 3/4 hour journey, and special stops for benefit of photographers were made before the first stage at Rainhill. When the original locomotive trials were held by the Liverpool and Manchester Railway in 1829, and at the Parkside, where the Right Honourable William Huskinson MP was killed in an accident following the opening ceremony of the Liverpool-Manchester Railway on September the 5th, 1830. That's a true story. The MP apparently got off the train to get out to cross over somewhere, and he got hit by a train on the opposite line coming back. True story. The first ever recorded railway fatality. There you go. Class 5 MT 45110 had started the tour, taking the 10-car train from Liverpool Lime Street to Manchester Victoria, where 7013 Oliver Cromwell was waiting to take 1T57 for the remainder of the journey. Crowds turned out in their hundreds to bid the farewells, and local roads were littered with parked vehicles, particularly in the regular spotting locations. Arrival at Carlisle was 30 minutes late, but the locomotive changeover time was reduced, with Class 5 MTs 44781 and 44871 replacing 7013 Oliver Cromwell as the tour retraced its route back to Liverpool Lime Street at Manchester Victoria. Class 5 MT 45110s once more took over the train, completing the trip back to Lime Street, where it became the last locomotive in British Rail service to return to its own shed. Wow, fascinating stuff. But what's even more fascinating is what's inside the box. So I'll just pause this really quickly, and we'll get everything out on the table, and we can have a proper butcher's hook. Okay, so what I've done, I've just taken my little knife there and just cut that piece of tape so we can release this piece of insert card, which comes off like so. And inside, surprise, surprise, we've got the usual stuff, which you wouldn't expect anything less. This is the instruction sheet and the lubrication and bits and pieces you'll need for maintenance and all kinds of things that you'll need to remember for a disassembly should you wish to put a DCC chip and any servicing. You need to keep hold of that sheet. Never throw these away because they are invaluable. And here is the certificate of authentication. This is the authentic certificate number of the 15 Guinea Special. Now, as mentioned at the start of the video, I did say they're limited to a 1,000 production runs a piece. So they only went up to made 1,000 of these, basically. Hornby only made 1,000. And this is a really nice low number. Look at that. It's 323 of 1,000, so it's a nice low number. Excellent. So this is the 323rd production run of the 15 Guinea Special. So excellent stuff. So we put that carefully to one side like that. I think what I'll do, I'll just pop that over out the way, give us a bit more room, and we can have a look in here. Oh look, we've got a nice little goodie bag which consists of all the brake rigging underneath for the tender and loco, the separately fitted wheel should you wish to fit the flange type, and there's some bits in there, there's a coupling I can see, and all kinds of bits floating around in there which I know will be very handy. I can see cylinder cocks in there, I can see vacuum pipe, there's all kinds of stuff that will be fitted on here very carefully. Good, we'll put those to one side, we definitely need to keep hold of those. But here is the set itself. So I think what we'll do, we will do this in reverse order. I think we'll start with the coaches upwards, and then we'll get to Ollie at the top in a bit. So let's start with this bottom coach here. Now, just a little bit of word of warning for those of you out there who are in the hobby. Maybe you've been in this hobby a long time, maybe you're a young person starting out in the hobby. It doesn't matter, we can all make the same mistakes, but I always say, whenever you get an item from Hornby or Bachmann or any pretty half decent model railway manufacturer, when they come in these polystyrene trays like this, which you put the items back in for safekeeping when you're not using them, which you should, underneath there's normally, has this one got it? Yeah, there is. There's normally, underneath here, I won't actually show you because if I do it'll all fall out, but there's normally 2 finger holes under each item. So there's 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and I think 2 there. They're designed for one's fingers, and what you do, you never ever grab something like this out the box. Well, even if it feels loose, don't ever grab a loco or a carriage or something out of a box like that. Never do this, because what you'll do is you'll end up breaking or snapping off an important piece of detail, and that's it. That's you in tears for the rest of the day. So all you got to do is simply pop your finger underneath, pop up one end, pop up the other, and then you can lift it out then quite nicely. Let's have a little butcher's look at this carriage. What have we got here? Oh, look at that. We've got some separately fitted coupling details there to fit on there. That's nice. It's a nice touch. I'll just take this out of the tissue paper. All exciting stuff, isn't it? That's nice. Oh, those are quite nice actually. Those are none too shabby. Some of you out there might argue and say, oh, the Bachmann ones are nicer or the Accurascale ones are nicer. Yeah, maybe true, but I think for what you get to pay for included in the set, I mean, that's not a half bad representation of BR carriages in that decade. One thing straight off the bat I've noticed about this carriage already, my first thing that the eyes picked up is the sharpness and crispness of the colour applied on here. Everything from the details of the coach numbers on the side, Mike 4, what number is that? Mike 4995, I believe. Yeah, it is. No smoking signs in the windows there. Brilliant. That's a nice coach. I haven't got one of those in that colour, so I've got the old trying Hornby ones, but I mean these are nice. These are very nice. Underfloor details, not much to write home about, standard mouldings, but hey ho, it's enough to make the thing believable. Yeah, that's a lovely, lovely item. I do like that. Let's look at the ends. Yeah, I do like that. Again, with a little bit of weathering on those ends there, about halfway down to about that below, you could actually put a very light touch of weathering there, some brake dust at some point. Oh, I've just noticed something else as well, guys. Oh, they've got NEM pockets on these, and so they should. That's nice. They've got NEM pocket couplings. They haven't got anything bigger, which looks much more nicer. Very nice. I like that. Excellent. So we're going to put that back in his tissue paper. That's there. Mustn't forget that as well, which is the little bit of coupling that goes in there. Oh, there's 2 there. No, because there's 1 for each coach, I would imagine. So yeah, let's do the same procedure. Have a quick look at the other one. Get it out here. Yeah, these ones, another one is the exact same one. Has it got the same running number? Let's have a look. No, it hasn't. Look, it's Mike 4833. different coach number, which is correct. Again, these are stunning coaches. I quite like these. Look at the seats inside. Very nicely done. And the natural light from outside today is catching that paintwork, and even the rivet detail on the roof there. The underfloor of the coach is nice. It's exactly the same as the other one, but it's a nice coach. These are very nice. I like that. Ooh. Makes me think now I might have to get some separate ones of these now. I might have to get maybe another 2, I reckon another 3. Another 3 of these coaches to go with this. They'll look nice behind a BR diesel and in the same colour at some other stage. But in the meantime, a great addition to my rolling stock fleet, because I haven't got those ones. Like I said, I've got the old Triangle Hornby ones, which are the intercity ones, but these are the nice ones. Okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll bosh him in there so we don't lose. Let's actually, you know what, stick that in there like that so we don't lose those. Good. Let's have a little look at the top one, shall we? This is nice. It's exactly the same as, well, it's not, this is actually a break third. But again, this is a nice coach. Look at that. Very nice. I like the paint finish on this. Very, very nice coach. Beautiful. As you can see underneath there, at that level, there's a reasonable amount of detail underneath there, as you'd expect. The battery box for the power supply for the coach lighting. These would have had steam heating facilities on them as well. Again, the wheels and the bogies and couplings look in order. Everything's there, no buffers broken off. Everything is in immaculate condition, and it is brand new, so that's nice. It's never been run or owned by anybody else, which is always a bonus. So excellent. And we'll just shove those two. Oh look, and there's another coupling detail pack. Excellent. So we'll pop that nicely back in its box. Now the creme de la creme, what we've all come to see. It's Oliver Cromwell. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If it's okay with you guys at home, I'm just going to really quickly pause the video and get this out of the box, because this requires a little bit more patience and a little bit more delicacy in getting Ollie out of his container. All right, so I'll see you in a bit. Right, there she is, or there he is, Oliver Cromwell. That is an absolute thing of beauty. As you can see, there's a little bit of polystyrene there. I'm just going to very carefully remove like that. There he goes. What a lovely thing. Oh wow, what a cracker. That is an absolutely stunning machine. Now we'll start from the smoke box end. So there it is, number 7013 of Norwich Shed, a Britannia class locomotive. And these Brits are just a lovely thing. And on the front there, I can already see from my sample today, there's some detail on the front there. I'm just going to very carefully move it around to the front so we can see. There we go. That's better, isn't it? Right. So on the front, I notice already there's a coupling and chain on the hook, which has been on there. That's lovely. The paint finish is beautiful. The buffer beam is riveted. That's lovely. That is a beautiful Britannia, and Oliver Cromwell being the machine of my choice. It's really nice to look at a model and say that I've actually stood, as you can see from the title of the video, that's me standing next to Oliver Cromwell in real life. And it's nice to actually say that I've stood next to this thing, and this model is very well replicated of the real life full-size machine. So far I'm liking what I'm seeing from Hornby. The paint finish, we come round to this side profile here, just checking something. Right, these nameplates on the side here, excuse my fat finger, these nameplates on the side, Oliver Cromwell, those are printed sadly, but but there are companies out there online. I think Fox Transfers might be a choice, but there are other specialized custom modeling companies that will do brass etched, separately fitted nameplates of your choice, specifically for Britannias. So if I had the time to go online and source out one of these said companies, at some point down the line, I would get a brass etched nameplate on there for Oliver Cromwell. Most likely I would. I'll see. But anyway, for the eye purposes and the viewing purposes of today, and when it runs on my layout, no one's going to know the bloody difference. Anyway, looking at this loco from side shot, excellent paint finish from Hornby. One of the things, to be honest with you, that I like about Hornby, if you want a locomotive that has all the super detailed parts and all the separately fitted finicky bits of it, then Hornby would be probably the first choice. Second from Hornby would be Accurascale, someone like that. Bachmann, I used to like, back in the day, I used to like Bachmann models, but when they brought out, I think it was an A4, yes it was Sir Nigel Gresley, and it had a nice big dirty mould seam going right the way along the top of the boiler, where you could see it was joined in the factory. That put me off for life. But as you can see from this thing, there's none such on here. That's beautiful. I'll zoom out with the camera a little bit, that's better. The boiler bands I'm noticing already with the eye. Hope you can see this at home on your device. Are nice and crisp, those red boiler bands. There's rivet detail to look at. Separately fitted pipe work. The brass safety valves. On the other side there is the whistle. We'll come and look at the other side in a minute. We'll flip it round. You can see the other side in a moment. But moving down to sort of chassis and running plate level, if we look down at these beautiful wheels and this motion detail here, look at this. They've really got everything right for a Britannia, and it looks and functions exactly like the full-size thing. This is why I always say, people say, oh, it's toy trains, or it's just, grown men playing with, toys. These, I can assure you, whether a lifetime modeler or a newbie in the hobby, these are far from toys. They are miniature pieces of engineering. They are very fine scaled, detailed, working miniature models of the full-size engineered item. They are miniature engineering, simple as that. They're not toys. A toy is a wooden train you push around a wooden track. This is far from it. This is the top end scale of model railway locomotives, I think, or in the top end range, I would say. Really cannot give this anything more than above 10 stars, 1,000 stars if could. It's really a lovely thing. My other Britannia I've got, William Shakespeare, is a nice model, but this is really nice, and this is really special to me because this is the last Britannia I ever saw at Old Oak. So there we go. So anyway, moving down past these lovely wheels, everything's correct on there. All the motion, the com rods, linkages, the expansion link, the lubricator, everything on there. Brilliant, look at that. Moving down to the cab end, one of the things that I remember about 7013 Oliver Cromwell, when I saw this loco on shed or on display at Old Oak Common as mentioned, and I remember just looking around it in awe, and I remember there was a short little line of people that were lined up sort of about this area. They were all stood in a little sort of organised line, and they were taking turns to go up, climb up onto the footplate, have a little look, sit in the driver's seat, have a chat with the fireman and driver, and to get their picture taken, and if they were lucky enough to have a little quick blast on the whistle, which I did. And I remember standing in this area where the firebox area drops down here, the firebox grate and the firebox, and I can remember standing about, I think, for just over 5 feet away from this area here, and the heat that was hitting my cheek on my face was unbelievable. The amount of heat that was coming off this thing, a lot of heat, white hot. The most expensive oven you'll ever come across, for doing your breakfast on. Really, really, really hot. So I remember being out this hot, and someone had put a makeshift cardboard sign saying, "Hot, do not touch these pipes." Yeah, extremely hot. They had steam at working pressure, obviously, not to mainline pressure, but it was enough to move it and enough to keep the engine ticking over. And there was definitely a fire in there because I could feel it. Moving on to the cab then. So if we're looking at the side of this loco here, there's some, just checking that wasn't bent over. No, that's correct. That side glass on the driver's side there, the little windshield sticking out, that's beautiful. I'm noticing the gold brass being picked out on the window frame there. Look at all that pipe work on top of that. That's really, really special. And again, this commands respect when you handle it. Any locomotive that you buy, guys, like this, not so much a Britannia, but any locos you buy, be it from Hornby or another manufacturer that has really fine detail like this, treat with the utmost respect and care. It's not a thing to be flung around or picked up willy-nilly. Treat it with respect. This is Britannia as well, so even more. So looking down here around the firebox area, there's some beautiful pipe work there. That's lovely. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Very, very nice. And that's all correct from memory as well, standing next to this thing. Again, these were red hot, white hot pipes. They were giving off a lot of heat. So it makes me think about, at the end of the day, when this loco would have been put on shed and been ready to disposed of, and they chucked the fire out, and it was the fireman's job to go underneath and clear out all the clinker and everything. Quite a dangerous job. It's not really know what you're doing. The amount of hot cinders and ash coming out of that thing was under the ash pan underneath would have been something else. But anyway, moving on. Just before we get to the tender, folks, I'll just explain one thing. When this is in the box and you get it, as you can see, there's a long piece of wire in the famous plug and play clip there, which attaches to the tender. Now, the loco and the tender are not physically joined together. So you have to just make a few adjustments with a screwdriver, unless you want to have the thing on display or out on your layout assembled. It's a different arrangement. I'll show you in a little bit. But if we just, for all intensive purposes, just move the tender slightly away like that, so we can have a little look at the cab and see what we have. I'll try and get this in I'll try and move it around to the sort of the sunshine side of things so we can have a little look. The sun will give us a bit of light, as we can see. I'll come in. See what we can see. Oh, that's quite nice. Yep. Firebox door handle. Regulator is the big red lever on the left on the driver's side there. You'll see on the column there's the brake, there's the reversing link, and also that big red handle is the infamous regulator and the vacuum brake, or the brake on the train there. On the fireman's side, we've got, oh, that's nice, we've got some injectors there, I believe. Yep. And all the fireman's bits and pieces on that side. If I try and bring it down, just about make up, yeah, there we go. I'll try and get this in with the camera. Apologies. We could just about make out the gauges there. See that? That's nice. And also, if you see, you can try and follow this, but if you look at the driver's side, if you look at that copper pipe that goes up at an angle towards that water glass, just behind there's a long black rod. If it goes right the way across to fireman and driver's side, all the way across the back head of the firebox, that's the whistle lever. And that's what I pulled when I went onto the footplate. I gave it a blast. And apparently the the loco crew actually got told off. Not told off, but they got a little bit of a warning, like stop letting people go up on the footplate and keep blowing the whistle every 5 minutes. There's plenty of steam to do it, but people were getting annoyed by it. But I think it was a bit biased because at the time it was obviously an open day. and there were several steam locomotives in steam. There was Tornado was there. There was a, what was it now? Yes, there was a 50. Was it a 57? No, it was yes, it was a 57 double X Great Western Pannier that was stood next to Oliver Cromwell on another track, and people were going up in the cabin blowing the whistle on that, and Tornado was trying to outdo everybody else. So I jumped up on the footplate of the Brit and just gave it. It was lovely. And because people going up there and just gave it a little tug, little toot. No, I gave it a proper tug, a proper Britannia whistle. No, we're leaving Liverpool Street now, come on. Yeah, it was lovely. I still can't help talking about it to this day. It was a long time ago, but it was a memorable experience to go on the footplate of one of these machines. You've no idea the size, the sheer mammoth behemoth size. I use the word behemoth because that's exactly what it is. It's a behemoth of a locomotive. It's a massive thing. It's a beautiful thing as well. And this model is even better. It does really good justice to the full-size Britannia. So we'll just move Ollie round this way, and again I'll just bring the tender up to the side of it just to show you. There, that way. So looking at this side of Oliver Cromwell, again the detail on this side is fantastic. Everything on there. What a beauty of an engine. It looks powerful, doesn't it? Even sat on my table. And there's the famous chime whistle, 3-chime whistle on the Britannias, and that one Oliver Cromwell that I blew at Old Oak Common that day. So, talking about the tender really quickly, there's some beautiful rivet detail on that tender. Look at that. It's a lovely, lovely tender. It's a typical Britannia tender. Obviously designed to carry water and coal, and you've got these Timken yellow lubricator caps that are nicely pre-painted in on the axle bearing points there, both sides. There's the steps on either side of the tender frame, front and back, and on top, or the reverse should I say, you've got a little bit of tissue paper stuck in the ladder. Don't worry about that, that's in the packaging. A nice ladder on there, separately fitted handrails, lamp iron brackets, buffer beam is riveted, a NEM pocket on the back of that, a nice little bit of overhead line signage, that's lovely, and there's some signage on there. On the top there's the water cap on there, which looks lovely, and some nice detail on top there. That's nice. Looking at that overshot there, folks, we can see Britannia needs to go onto my coaling stage. I think it's rather low on coal, so that might need a little bit more coal, or I might leave that as it is. But as it's so tempting, oh, that's so tempting just to put a little tiny bit more coal in there, and to top it up a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure what to do about that, but it's nice. It's a nice tender. We can look at that shot there. There's rivets on the top part of the bunker there. That's a nice profile. If we look at it there, you can see at the back there, very, very nice. It's a lovely thing, isn't it? Overall, with the late British Railways line and crown and wheel logo on the side there, nicely applied. The tender lining, which goes around the whole thing on the sides, is nicely and crisply applied. Like, my gosh, when I think about, obviously I wasn't around in the Triang days, but you know the days of Hornby Triang, when most of you, or some of you out there remember this, when Triang first brought out their models, all of the decals were very sort of loosely applied on there, and they were very much playware stained. They would come off in your hands after a while, and they would just get very worn. These things, if nowadays, you only pay for what you get, and with care, these decals and lining and all the paintwork finish should, if respected and looked after nicely, will last a lifetime. So moving down the loco, I think on top, we'll just have a little look on top, see what we can see. These roof vents do slide open like that, and they do close back up, which is nice. I'll leave mine something like that. A beautiful, beautiful thing. Single chimney Britannia, and they've got the chimney profile very nice. As you can see, there's rivet detail around the chimney base there. Look at that. If you look around the bottom of that chimney cap, where it joins the boiler, the smoke box end, there's rivets around that. It's got the correct profile. So there we are, 7013 Oliver Cromwell. Little bit of history. So the Britannias were originally designed, built at Stratford. They were mainly designed for the express workings from London, Liverpool Street to Norwich, and doing the famous trains like the Hook Continental, trains down to Harwich Docks, that sort of thing, from London, Liverpool Street. And they were express machines. And once they got the right away from Liverpool Street and got out of Pindar Street Junction, they used to blast up Bethnal Green Bank and then all the way down road towards Norwich on green signals. These things were legendary. They were very favoured by the Stratford crews at 30A Shed. They were the top link machines. If you were on the Britannias, you were the top man. It's the equivalent of the LNER having the A4s and the peppercorns, and the Western men having the Kings and Castles. But on the Eastern region, these were truly top machines, the Britannias. Obviously, you had Great Eastern machines like, B12s, B13s, B11s, the mainline engines. But they built these, as you can see, this thing was built for power, built for speed. It was an express engine. It's a Class 7, so that gives you an idea of what it's capable of hauling and why it was designed. Interesting fact that this particular loco, 7013 Oliver Cromwell, its shed actually was at Norwich Shed. And the sad story about Oliver Cromwell was that it performed one of the anniversary runs of when the Britannias ruled the GE, and it did a special run which is available on YouTube. I didn't film it, sadly, but it's out there on YouTube. It done several runs from London Liverpool Street down to Norwich. On one of the last runs it ever did out of London Liverpool Street, it suffered a massive failure under the firebox area. There was a crack found in the chassis and in the firebox, and it was badly steaming. It lost time. It was performing very poorly, purely because, I mean, this thing basically was built in 1951. For those of you who didn't know, this particular locomotive, 7013 Oliver Cromwell, was built in 1951. So compared to, for example, the A4s from Gresley Stable that were built in 1938 and 39 and 1940s, this thing was built in 1951, a year before Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth's coronation. So 1951, this thing rolls out the workshops and it's ready to go on the main line. And it does what it's supposed to do. It becomes legendary in its performance, and also it becomes very well known for its timekeeping. Not just Oliver Cromwell, but all the Britannias that are on the GE were known for their good steaming, and also they were known for their fastness in getting from Liverpool Street to Norwich on the expresses they handled, which is what they were done and built for the job. But Oliver Cromwell, in later years, more so the last 10 years, sadly, has been thrashed to death. It's a 1951 made machine, and it's basically showing its age a lot. And I think the last run it ever did recently on BR Metals, it had a catastrophic failure. I think it was the big end around about this area where my finger is circling on the loco. There was a failure, and it basically had a massive failure in service. Praise God for the crews on board who acted very swiftly, very quickly, and took care of everything very nicely. However, this particular loco in real life is now in preservation. Well, it's in preservation anyway. What I was trying to say, folks, was this particular loco is in the repair shop. It's looking at having loads of work done on it. It isn't just the running gear and the big end. It's also the firebox and the chassis in general. There's lots of cracks that were found at the time. It's a very, very old engine that's been put out there on its paces, and it's showing signs of age. And unless you put money into it, it just basically starts to disintegrate, which is a very, very sad thing. It's a national treasure. It's one of Britain's top mainline engines, and particularly being remembered for the 15 Guinea special, which it's actually been done today in the purpose of this video. And what a better way to commemorate Railway 200 this year than to feature Oliver Cromwell and the 15 Guinea special. So there we are. That's my Ollie. And also I would go as to say, in a very eccentric description, and you might think, well, what have you been smoking, what have you been sniffing, what have you been drinking, by saying the following statements. But I kid you not, a steam locomotive is not just a piece of machinery. It's a living, breathing, real-life thing. When the Reverend W. Aldry started out with the idea of Thomas the Tank Engine, about railway engines that had their own unique personalities, their own quirks, their own behaviours, their own special way, he wasn't kidding. The steam locomotive, and I say this as a Christian man, the steam locomotive is the closest thing God ever designed for a machine to live and breathe like a human being. A steam locomotive is a very, very emotional thing. If you look after it and you show it lots of attention, lots of care, lots of respect, it will show off. It will do everything it can to please you. But if you mistreat it and you don't know how to treat it properly, and you misfire it and you drive it like an idiot, it will show off and it will throw its toys out of its box, and it will let you know. Oliver Cromwell has got a reputation amongst railway enthusiasts. Its nickname is Angry Ollie, because it's always a bad-tempered engine sometimes. It never, ever, ever is happy if it's mistreated. It knows if it's running late, it throws its tantrums out of the box. It really gets angry. Just look up on YouTube after my video. I won't put the link in the description. There's a guy I'll give a shout out to. I think his name is Barry Kendler. He took a very, very good video of Oliver Cromwell on the Great Western Bath section near Bath, I think it was. And Oliver Cromwell was running considerably late, and it had a tantrum. It didn't whistle very nicely. It screamed. It had the hump. And steam locomotives do have the hump. In actual fact, a lot of enginemen out there, including myself, will turn around and say that a steam locomotive is exactly like a woman. It's temperamental, and they are very temperamental things, and you have to show them love, affection, and respect and care, and a nice manner with them. And if you don't, they show off and have the and they won't get better until you put things right. Exactly like a woman. They're very temperamental, and they do show off. Not just Britannia's, but any steam locomotive. It's a living, breathing thing. Like I said, you feed it with coal, you make a fire, you put water, it produces steam. It runs steam through its veins like a person has blood in its veins. And I'm speaking very extremely, and I am very passionate about what I say, as you can tell. But with the steam locomotive, if you treat it right and you look after it, you get anything out of it. But if it's not maintained and looked after properly, and it's not looked after by the crew, you're in for a bad day. But yeah, this particular locomotive, 7013 Oliver Cromwell, is notorious for being a grumpy engine. Not always, but it's got that reputation in having that. Anyway, with that said, it's Railway 200 this year, 1825 to 2025, and this is my 15 Guinea special. Thanks for watching, and in the next video we'll have Oliver Cromwell running on the railway. We'll have it running, and we'll be able to look at that as in all her glory. We'll get her in steam. But what I've got to do with this particular model is, believe it or not, I've got to lubricate it and test run it. Just a quick note before I go. Any model railway locomotive that you buy, just a quick note, any brand new model railway locomotive that you buy that says brand new, never been run, If it's in that condition, which mine generally is, you can't just plonk it on your layout and hook it up to the coaches and put power into it and run it. It will move, but you need to do what's running in. And on that little white piece of paper we saw earlier, it will tell you you're supposed to lubricate it, and then you're supposed to run it in at medium speed on a minimum of 25 minutes per direction. So what you do, you oil up all the points. So if I'm going to oil up on my Britannia today, I'm going to put a dab of oil here, 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 and repeat on the other side for the tender axle points. I'll then put a little tiny dab of oil on the pony truck underneath the firebox either side, and then I'll put a dab of oil, and a dab will go on the drive wheel axles inside, not on the outside. Do that on the other side as well, and then I'll put a dab on the com rods on their bearings there, 1, 2, 3. I'll do the slide bar a tiny bit. Any little moving part on this linkage that you see that will move when it's running and thus creating friction, you need to put a very, very, very fine, and I stress the word fine, drop of oil. And then obviously do the front truck as well with the axles, and then repeat process on the other side of the loco. So all those points are all taken care of. It's a bit like it's not that uncommon actually to do the same procedure on a full-size engine, only in miniature. So before obviously the engine leaves shed, apart from lighting the fire and checking everything's okay, and you've got water that's able to go from the tender into the loco okay, and the handbrakes work and the loco brakes work, you've got to make sure the thing is oiled and check for any damage. So a good practice with any steam loco that you've got on your railway, take it out of the box, or whether it's on the layout about to be run, always physically pick it up and have a look at the wheels, especially a steam engine. Always check that these screws and linkage connections are all nice and tight, that there's no damage on any of the com rods or nothing's loose or flapping about. Because I've heard stories, should I say, on these model railway forums, just generally browsing through them for advice and just looking at comments, and people have said, oh, my loco, put it on the track and it ran round, and one of the pins was loose and it bent the com rod and the loco fell off the railway, and it's, oh my gosh, horror stories. Say what happens like in real life with a steam engine. So as in model form, again, I know I'm waffling, but I'm trying to share a bit of wisdom this morning and today with you guys out there. Doesn't matter how inexpensive your model is. Doesn't have to be an expensive thing like this. It can be any model that you've got, but do check, especially steam engines, check things like all the com rods, the pins are in place, they haven't worked loose, and they are nice and tight, they haven't worked loose, because sometimes they can jar loose a little bit, and you want to tighten them up with a special hex bolt tool, or a screwdriver if they're even older. But yeah, check these things because it's important. It's a good engineman always goes around his engine before he runs it, and lubricates it. Lubrication, if I was going to lubricate this, which I will do today at some point, I'd do it today. What are we now, in January 2025? I'd look at maybe by the summertime, possibly August, September, not even that, maybe November, checking the lubrication again. You don't need to keep lubricating it once it's lubed. Just every 6 months minimum prior, have a little look at it and just keep an eye on things. Obviously, if it's getting bone dry, you haven't put enough oil on there. If you can see oil physically on a loco mechanism, it's generally that you've either or someone has put too much on there. That's definitely not a good thing. You want to get rid of that with a cotton bud or a bit of dry cloth and clean that up. You shouldn't need a lot of oil. Like I said, you all need is a dab. A dab, I stress the word dab, it's a very, very fine dab. I've got a nice oil pen that I got from Gauge Master, but you can get other brands of oil pen as well. It doesn't have to be Gauge Master, but it looks like a long pen as it says. It's got like a syringe on one end, a rubber grommet on the end to the tube where the oil is, and you just basically squeeze with finger and thumb pressure and use it that way, and put a very, very fine dab on there. But again, that little white piece of paper that's in that box in there will show you physically where to put your oiling points on. I just know from experience where to oil up on a loco, but if you're not sure, look at your instructions, follow them as it says, and you'll be okay. The other thing I haven't shown in the video before I go, I just forgot, naughty me, I haven't shown you underneath. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this packaging material just to protect it and not scratch anything. Bosh that there like that. Quickly bring the camera in. There's not much to write home about. That's how exciting as it gets. There's nothing under there of interest to see. But what I will tell you is, I'll just use my my little pen knife here to illustrate. This that little bump there, you see that? Inside that raised piece of plastic housing is the gear cog. So if you're going to take off this keeper plate, which you can do, I would take out those screws. So it comes off. Underneath there, the first thing you'll encounter is the pickup wipers for the wheels and the gear cog. So if you want to apply your lubrication grease, that's where you'd apply it. Don't need to take the body off at all. Just the underplate normally works. This is called the keeper plate. And there's screws there, one, two, yeah, on that. There's about one, I'd say about 2 screws to undo there. Maybe 3 with that pony truck assembly there. But I'd go for 1, 2, 3. Lift that gently off. Put your little bit of lubrication there. There's normally wipers. I can't see it in my camera shot there. My eyes are not that great, but I know they're there. There's wipers on the back edges of all these wheels electrically, because they all go through to the motor, and then they all go through to that piece of cable which plugs into the tender. And the tender, if I just move that back out of the way really quickly, and it's not interesting, but I'm showing you out of interest just in case. There's nothing of interest there. But again, if you unscrew the bottom of that tender plate there, you'll uncover the wipers. There are wipers that sit up inside that tender frame that sit on the back edge of the wheel there, on the flange side. They press up against here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got 6 wipers there, which all coincide with that plug, that socket that matches up and marries up to that plug on the loco. So the whole thing is electrically connected, so it runs at dead slow speeds across pointwork, especially Hornby plastic install frog stuff. Anyway, that is it, guys. That's Ollie, and I'm glad that we were able to share that today on the video. I hope that you enjoyed the unbox and the little bit of waffle that I've talked about. But yeah, that, out of all the Britannias I've ever wanted to own, this is the one that I've been after for such a long time, and I'm really pleased I've got it. Like I said, when I got William Shakespeare, I was happy, but I always used to pretend it was Oliver Cromwell, and now I've got Oliver Cromwell. And why is Oliver Cromwell special? Well, for many reasons. 15 Guinea special, obviously, and the fact that I stood next to him at Old Oak Common, and I was up on the footplate, and it's one of my favourite Britannias. The only other Britannia that I'd like to get would be 7000 00, which is Britannia. But this is definitely the top machine for me. That is the ultimate Britannia, is Oliver Cromwell. So there we go. So next time you'll see Oliver Cromwell, you'll see him running around and shouting at everybody on my layout. Anyway, guys and girls, thanks so much for watching today. If you've liked what you've seen and heard, then give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you again in the next video with hopefully the 15 Guinea special. Take care, all the best, and happy modelling. Goodbye for now.